Today we are reacting to the Gary Neville interview with Jim Ratcliffe, the Manchester United co-owner. He's done a huge, explosive interview, apparently. I'm going to react to it for the first time with you lot. But first, we're going to check out the other announcement he's made in the last 24 hours, which is the new stadium for Manchester United. It's Manchester United we're talking about here. What Manchester does today, the world does tomorrow. That's China, I think. I'm not having to go at Manchester. I just wouldn't exactly say that they're at the forefront of like technological advancements.
A glorious history. A future to be written.
Got to make sure you get the women in there. Inclusive. I like it. It's always rammed down my throat, isn't it?
A new landmark will rise. A new theatre.
So yeah, we have the new stadium. As you can see, it's got this like wiry, meshy circus tent vibe going on around it. I'd prefer it without that. I just kind of feel like you're covering up the bit that's the good looking bit, the stadium itself. But it is huge, which is basically what they need to get the money in.
100,000 fans.
I mean, it's a massive stadium, right? It kind of looks a bit NFL to me when I'm looking at it here. Newcastle are supposed to be building a stadium soon, and I kind of don't know if I'd want the design to be like this. It's just a bit NFL-y. An NFL is not what Manchester United represent. You could have it as big as this, but more of a classic football stadium, in my opinion. That's what Manchester United have always been about, tradition. And this is a bit soulless, isn't it?
A new home for United. A new place for Manchester.
All right, we get it. A lot of football fans hate new stadiums. I personally am kind of like, it's inevitable. Yeah, we can hold on to the past. We love tradition. We have all these memories wrapped up, you know, in this concrete, yeah. But ultimately, they end up falling to bits, and it's just, you haven't got much of a fucking choice, really, a lot of the time. So Barcelona did it. A load of huge clubs have done it. You just have to move with the times. How are they going to pay for it is a fucking interesting question, because there was rumours that they were going to try and lean on the British government to pay a chunk of it or whatever. And Man United are already in a fuckload of debt. Maybe we'll find out a bit more of that from this interview with Gary Neville and Jim Ratcliffe.
I'm going to start with the end and ask you to sum up your first 12 months in charge at United.
Can I help? It's been a fucking shit show, Gary.
But I think broadly where we are, which I know is a difficult place and people are not very happy about it at the moment, which is why I'm quite unpopular, it is where I didn't expect in a year of change that we'd be winning the Premier League.
You definitely didn't expect it to be this bad, though. And that's the thing, he hasn't quite put his finger on there. It's been terrible.
Are you finding it hard, the scrutiny, the attention, the criticism?
Well...
Do you know that? Obviously, I've interviewed hundreds of people at this point. When people like have a really high pitch, it's a sign of like stress. So I can tell you right now, he's struggling with it. I can tell you for a fact.
I mean, we've all got our sensitivities, and it isn't pleasant to read some of the.
He's really struggling with eye contact, yeah, by the way. And I'm not trying to I wasn't planning on making this some sort of body language thing, but the body language is so shocking. I can't not notice this.
The way I get through it is you know, that I believe what we're doing is the right thing, and I believe what we're doing has to be done to get United back to where...
He's blinking like fuck. This is a body language expert's dream. When someone blinks constantly, apparently it's got something to do with like not wanting to remember like what the actual truth of what you're saying, sort of thing. So like it's a sign of lying. I don't know the exact specific stuff. Like people might say I'm full of shit in the comments. You be my guest, but I'm telling you now, I've read up on this once upon a time, and I remember thinking that's an interesting one. Look at his eye blinking here.
I believe what we're doing is the right thing, and I believe what we're doing has to be done to get United back to where United should be, which are the winning, you know, silverware and winning trophies and things like that. And we have to go through this too. I mean, if you don't like where United have been for the last 12 seasons since Sir Alex retired, then I think, ergo, you have to accept there has to be a period of change, otherwise it's just going to continue. And change is always uncomfortable. And
no, change isn't always uncomfortable. It isn't. There are plenty of new ownerships that have come into football clubs, and it has been very pleasant. It's been very fruitful. And I'm not just trying to contradict everything this guy says, but he's saying smart things, right? He's doing the shit sandwich, right? He's packaging it up in the nicest way possible, that this is going to be tough, but because it has to be tough. But it isn't always tough. It's tough because of the shit show he's inherited from the Glazers. They're in around $1 billion of debt, apparently, when you add everything up, all the different debts that they've got. That's why it's difficult.
Do you understand why the fans are angry? Obviously, yesterday they protested at the Arsenal match. Do you understand where it comes from?
Yeah, I think Yeah, well, I'm a fan as well, remember? So, fans are not going to be happy languishing down at the bottom, in the bottom half of the table.
I don't think that's why they're protesting, though. They're protesting because the problems at Manchester United are not just temporary football problems. They're deep entrenched into the football club because of the Glazers. The Glazers have put so much debt into that club that if they weren't there, and if it had just been run even half decently by an owner who didn't pile debt into them, they wouldn't be down the bottom of the Premier League because you'd have been reinvesting all the money into the fucking club instead of paying off the debt. Or not even the debt half the time, it's the interest on the debt, which is like, they're not even clearing the fucking debt. Fuck me, man, it's bad.
Obviously under Eric it was erratic, I think is the best word I'd use. There was some great when we obviously won the FA Cup against Man City, they all turned up and they played like they were in a cup final, and then at other times, Crystal Palace or whatever, they didn't show up. Under Ruben, what we've seen, I think, is it was difficult at the beginning, and I sort of get that. But then I think we've seen progress.
Is it progress? If anything, it was more entertaining under Ten Hag. Sometimes they'd have games where they'd play some good, like against Manchester City in the cup final, for example. That would happen every now and then under Ten Hag. Like it was a save the manager's fucking job sort of thing. That never really happens under Amrin, ever. It's always terrible. Even when they win, it's always bad. What I will say is, against Arsenal, they did show a little bit of like an understanding of what they were being asked to do. But again, slow fucking progress, if you want to call that progress. Fuck me. And maybe it'll come better when Amorim gets his players in. Who fucking knows, right? But I think he's being generous there.
So you think the recruitment from last summer will come good?
Yes.
I don't know how much of this is political from him and how much he really means, but those signings from last summer is one of the worst transfer windows in the history of the Premier League. If it comes good, fuck me, it's going to be a miracle.
We didn't have the luxury of time to prepare for last summer, did we? Jason had been there 3 weeks. Omar had been there 3 days. We had the problem with the coach. Is it a yes or a no? So we involving the coach and not involving the coach.
Did you involve the coach?
Sorry?
Did you involve the coach?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
So Eric...
There was such a deep breath in when he said, we did involve the coach.
He did have a voice, which is why there were 1 or 2 Dutch players.
Oh, fucking hell.
Would you have sacked Eric if you'd have found another manager after the FA Cup final success? Because you were looking around Europe and scouring for a new manager. It was too early for us to make a big decision.
The answer is fucking yes, because the problem was they didn't have a candidate who was screaming out, like, this is the guy. And that's why they were like, nah, should we just keep Ten Hag, see how he gets on for a bit more? Because the fans were screaming for Ten Hag. It was like pigs to the slaughter, by the way. The reason that they're so bad this season is because of his shocking transfer window after transfer window after transfer window. But they just thought, you know what, let's try and go with a popular move and we'll take the heat off ourselves, give ourselves a bit of time, and then we'll see what goes on.
We gave Eric the benefit of the doubt.
And you regret that, or do you feel...
Yeah, it was the wrong decision. We made the wrong decision. It was an error. So, yeah, I suppose in that sense I regret it. I think there was some extenuating or mitigating circumstances in having made that decision. But at the end of the day, it was a wrong decision.
At least he's fucking admitting it. I don't really like this guy that much, to be honest, but fans want communication. Fans want a bit of honesty from the owners, from the manager. Sometimes you can get too honest, like Amorim saying, this is the fucking worst Man United team we've seen in a long time. But I think it's healthy that he's acknowledging that.
If you modify our salary bill for the players that are not available to Ruben, then our salary bill, it ranks us about, mid-league, second half of the table. We're sort of level with, the likes of a Nottingham Forest or Everton.
He's comparing Manchester United's playing staff to Everton. Everton have got a 70 million year wage for their squad. Man United is 170 million. And yes, you've got a few players who've gone out on loan, but that doesn't take it down by 100 fucking million.
The club owe nearly £400 million, don't they, on players that are still in the club? 390 million, is that right, that number?
Pass, I don't know the exact number. I know the bill that we will pay this summer is 89 million for players.
I know that this is a way that a lot of clubs buy footballers in the modern era, but it just feels so much worse for Man United when you hear the list of those players and how shite they are. It's almost like you already know you've bought a broken car and you're still paying the payments and you're like, fuck my life. That's where I do give a little bit of slack to the geezer, in that it's going to take a while for Man United to pay those off, make better decisions in future, and in turn not make those mistakes again.
What happened with Dan? Obviously, Dan came into the club.
Yeah.
Mr. Dan Ashworth, the man who told Newcastle to go and fuck ourselves after we put our club in his hands, the future of our club, went on gardening leave, took charge of Manchester United, or at least so he thought, and then has been fucking kicked out on his arse a few minutes later.
At the end of the day, it was chemistry. Maybe a bit more than chemistry, but let's just say chemistry, and it didn't work. So
with you or with the other management team?
Just chemistry.
If you're going to do an interview like this, you have to give a little bit more than that. Like, from what I understand, he was against the Amorim appointment, so maybe that was a part of it. And now, a word from our sponsors. Have you been getting a load of spam in your email recently? Or what about those calls when some random gives you a ring? Some call centre where you can barely fucking hear them. It's annoying. Yeah, there's some shady guys out there called data brokers, and their job is literally to get your personal information. Your name, your email, your address, your political affiliation, the lot. And what they then do is they take it all and sell it all onto marketing agencies, which is why you're now getting bombarded with all this shit. And they've actually gone full Black Mirror now, where they're using like AI voices to try and get people, poor unsuspecting people, to hand over their cash. And this is where you hear about people getting huge loans taken out in their name without even knowing about it. This is how it happens. But luckily, this is where today's sponsor can be of help. You see, Incogni will reach out to these data brokers and ensure that your data is removed from their database. And because data brokers are always scouring the internet for your personal information, Incogni will continue policing it and making sure that your data does not appear online. All you've got to do is click the link in the description below, create an Incogni account, and tell them whose data you want removed. You then grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf, then you relax, and they will consistently update you as your data is removed. And the beauty of it is risk-free, because you can do a 30-day trial, and if it's not for you, they will give you a free refund. So click the link in the description below now and use our code KICKOFF, that's KICKOFF, block capitals, all one word, to get 60% off your annual plan.
£40,000 was taken away from the former Players Association. Now, that's not the players that played under Sir Alex Ferguson or even in the last 10 years, the players from the 1960s and 70s.
Yep.
I look at that and have a little bit of knowledge of the club, obviously having been there for 25, 30 years. I just look at that and I think it's £40,000 from players who are giving a lot back to sort of the local community. They're obviously big supporters of United. Why not look at that 40,000 and put Harry Maguire and Bruno in a dinner? Sell 1,000 tickets for 30, 40, 50 quid, raise the money through a dinner, maybe do a raffle and auction, and give the ex-players their money. And do it in a way whereby you're not looking like it's a cruel decision, which it is. Why would that not be looked at as a shopping list of things that's got a health warning to it? They're former players, they're people who do a lot of good for the club. I'm not talking about the sort of, this isn't the players who played in my era, the players from the 70s and 80s. Why would that decision be made?
Well, nobody suggested that.
This was such a David Brent move. It was so funny that. Well, nobody suggested that. You know, if someone had said that, I would have done that. Fuck me, that didn't look good.
It just looks. Why can't we reinstate that?
Well, maybe we can. I don't know. I can have a look at it. But I'm not aware at that level of.
It's not my fault. I didn't do it. Do you know what I mean? It just cuts needed to be made.
Aware of that at that level of detail.
The fact that he just said I wasn't aware of that at that level of detail, like, it's sort of your job.
The philosophy is if you look after the pennies, the pounds look after themselves.
He's really David Brent now. You're not saying the whole pie, yeah?
I don't think we can say, well, we can overlook the little things or just attack the big things. I don't like that.
All the things. Sometimes small things can be important.
The club has got community responsibilities as well, and it's sort of part of the community.
Manchester United is part of the community. Man, that's deep. That is deep.
Now removing food from members of staff in the canteen.
But the alternative isn't very tenable, is it? Which is the club goes bust at Christmas. We don't want that.
Well, I don't think the dinners in the canteen are going to save the fucking club, is it, mate? I understand that the guy's trying to run a tight ship or whatever, but the reason that he's having to do this is because of the fucking Glazers.
What happens if you spend more money than you earn is every year you have to go to the bank and borrow more money.
He's avoiding the real fucking problem here. He's making it about the staff dinners needing paid for, when in reality, it's because the Glazers got them into so much fucking debt that they've been hemorrhaging money when they should have been making a load of fucking money. And by the way, the Glazers, while they're paying off the interest on the debt, not even the fucking debt, they're also paying themselves dividends of fucking plenty of fucking money as well. They're taking more money out of the club. Imagine where Manchester United would be if they weren't taking that amount of money out of the club. Like, a lot of owners don't at the highest level. And if they weren't paying back all of this debt interest and then eventually the debt, Man United would be able to reinvest all of it back into the club. Dinners for fucking groundsmen and things like that wouldn't make a fucking blind bit of difference. The only reason they do was because of the Glazers. And he's acting like a shield for them because he's kind of saved them, gone into business with them, and now it's like, well, I've got to say the party line. 95%
of people in the UK don't get a free lunch. I don't get a free lunch. I've never had a free lunch. Nobody else gets a free lunch.
You're telling me that you've never eaten food that one of your companies have paid for? I find that hard to believe when Ineos are in 13 billion of fucking debt themselves. Like, at the elite level, and I've been to London before, I've been to big business places, it's quite common for staff to eat for free. It's quite common. He's talking shit.
It's a nice perk if you get one, but in the modern world, most people don't get a free lunch. And at the moment, Manchester United can't afford to give people free lunches because they have to go to the bank and borrow it. And I don't think. And at the end of the day, it's fans' money, isn't it?
Or the people who work for the club, not fans. I can quite imagine a lot of people work for Manchester United, not because the wages are particularly great, especially with this fucker in charge, but for the feeling of being a part of your local football club. And I work for Manchester United. I don't play for them, but I work for them, and there's a pride in that. And a lot of people probably accept a lot of shitty things to be able to go to work and think, I work for my favourite football club. And them getting a dinner, it makes it feel like a family. It makes and the feeling of your workforce is a very important thing. Looking after them is an important thing. And this all of a sudden now feels very much transactional, as opposed to, we look after you, you look after us, do your extra hours, whatever and I think he's being, as much as I understand business, he doesn't really seem to give a fuck about how people feel. And in a football club, which is different to a lot of other businesses, right? The reason you can make so much money is because of the love that fans have for their football club. You don't want to fuck with that, because we all remember how it went with Mike Ashley and Newcastle United. Fuck me, that was bad. And this guy, he makes Mike Ashley look like Father Christmas.
I don't think the solution to the problem at Manchester United is throwing money at it.
But it's not increasing the debt. If the debt's going up by 300 million...
The debt will come down. If we're successful in what we're doing at the moment, the debt will naturally cut. Like, the debt has gone up over the last 4 years because it's been losing money. If we're making money, the opposite will happen.
See, I'm not sure the debt will come down, because yes, he's going to make cuts. Yes, he's going to trim some of the fat, and that will then free up a bit more money. But you're still going to be paying all of this interest off. And any money you do come across, because Manchester United are so far in debt, you're going to want to reinvest it into the playing squad, because it's fucked. Tell me at what point, when you're spending money paying the Glazers, paying off the interest, and paying for more footballers, that you're going to say, do you know what, we can actually spend some money paying down some of the debt. I just don't see how it's going to happen. Man United needs someone to buy out the Glazers and pay off the debt. That's the only fucking way to save that club. Until then, it's just treading water, just trying to keep up with the rest of the pack.
We have a very professional relationship with the Glazer family, and to be honest, they let us get on with it, which we are doing at the moment.
I would imagine the Glazer family aren't exactly thanking you. They're like, we didn't have a fucking clue, and yet we were top six most years. What the fuck are you doing here? You're in the fucking bottom six.
I'm sat there in the crowd, and you don't actually, when you're in the gantry, hear everything, because you've got the earphones on, you commentate on the game. And I was thinking, you're starting to get...
No, quite a lot.
The slipstream of their mess, and you're getting fired at now. You're a target now for the fans. When actually, when you came in, you think about the perception when you came in. Now you're getting their flack. You provided an umbrella over their heads.
Yeah, it's true, but I mean, change is always uncomfortable, isn't it?
Coming back to that. Oh, fuck me.
Manchester United 20 years ago had the best stadium in the country, the best training ground in the country, the best team in the country, and we're debt free.
Well, we're going to be back there. We will get back there.
No, you fucking won't, you liar. And there's this clip on social media of Ratcliffe actually going into detail about players at Man United that he basically just doesn't fucking rate.
We're buying Anthony, we're buying Casemiro, we're buying Onana, we're buying Højlund, we're buying Sancho. These are all things from the past, but You know, whether we like it or not, we've inherited those things, or we have to sort that out. So
those things, those footballers, those people.
You know, these are all things from the past. But
he's basically saying, look, it wasn't me who bought them, and we're trying to move the fuckers on. If you're like Hoyland, Onana, Casemiro, or whatever, any of the names named there, you're playing the next game thinking, my boss doesn't fucking rate me one bit. Part of it is like, yes, that's honest, and kind of at least the Man United players kind of know, well, at least he knows what's shit and what's not shit. But equally, for player morale, it's a mental approach to take. Let me know what you made of this Jim Ratcliffe interview in the comments below. Is he the man to save Manchester United? I'm very unconvinced right now. The stadium looks pretty decent, but equally, his footballing decisions and his team's footballing decisions since he took over have been consistently wrong, in my opinion. Amorim remains to be seen, but I'm just not sure if he's going to be the guy to save this. Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit the like button, stay subscribed to The Kickoff, and I'll see you on the next one.